Smallwood, how long have you lived in Everglades City?
Around about 8 years.
And how long in this part of Florida?
43 years. I was born and raised in it.
Well, I understand you've seen quite a few hurricanes before this one, named Donna. How did this match up with the others?
It seemed to be a little worse than any I've ever experienced. I've been in the 26 and the 28 and the 35.
You had pretty high water here this time, and previous years you said you didn't. Can you tell us about it?
We had there about 6 or 7 feet above regular high tides of water here. Downtown we had, I'd say, around about 10 to 11 feet above normal high tide.
How did the water get in your home?
About 6 inches in the floor, thereabout.
Did you lose many of the cabins you have here?
No, I didn't lose any in my cabins, but there seemed to be quite a bit of water in them. The water was about 1.5 to 2 foot deep in them.
How about the people of the town? Did most of them stay here and ride it out, or get out and come back later?
And most of the people went to the courthouse and also to the Collier Corporation Manhattan building downtown. And I guess a few of them did go out of town. I stayed home, my family stayed with me, and we weathered it out in the house.
You were telling me a little earlier, you made a comment to your wife right in the height of those 6 hours when the winds 135 miles an hour were hitting you. You want to tell us that again?
About the water? Well, my wife asked me about the house. I told her me and the old man built it, and I thought it would stay there. I wasn't sure, but I thought it would.
Unless the road's blocked to Naples, how are you fixed for food and water out here?
Well, we're fixed maybe for 2 or 3 days, and that'd be about the limit.
How about the people in town?
People in town, some of them are a lot worse. I doubt they're fixed for any length of time at all. We just accidentally are fixed that way because we happened to buy up a little before the storm. I don't know where they all did. A lot of their homes are down, and what they bought more than that went with it.
This is Naples, the swank oceanfront section of the city, where homes range from $20,000 to $200,000 in value. Naples on the lower west coast. The destruction here was tremendous. You're looking at a home which was boarded up, had shutters, was safeguarded in every way possible. Still, 20-foot-high waves washed through it like a dam bursting on a matchbox. The royal palms here went down like duck pins in a bowling alley. The general destruction in Naples went like this: about 30 homes demolished, perhaps 500 damaged, but fortunately no fatalities uncovered as yet. The east section of Naples also suffered heavily in property damage. A radio station flooded out, powerless, no water, except to walk around in, and no contact with the outside world. A humorous sidelight. This boat, its bow and beam unharmed, rests quietly by the side of a bridge. Its name, Emergency. One sad aspect of the Naples story is that the city has no money to help itself. It seems the city fathers decided to cut taxes this year and to reduce the fund for emergencies. The town also decided not to renew its insurance on the fishing pier. Now there's little left to use. Next, newsman Oppen reports from Naples.
When we arrived at Naples this morning, Flannery and I stopped and asked the newsstand operator where we could buy something to eat. He looked at me and he laughed and he said, "We ain't got no water, we ain't got no phones, we ain't got no food, we ain't got nothing." And that about sums up the situation here in Naples. The damage is extensive. There are no communications. Radio stations are off the air. WNOG was flooded. It stayed on the air until the last moment. Then the staff personnel had to evacuate. The expensive homes along the Gulf Coast here have been smashed completely, even though they were protected by storm shutters. Even as you're watching this film now, National Guard units from Miami are distributing food and clothing supplies to the people of the Naples-Marco area. We spoke with the Coast Guard earlier today, some helicopter pilots, and they're going to start flying in food and water also to this same area. The Tamiami Trail is open between Miami and Naples. It's littered with debris, however. Even though damage will probably run into the many millions of dollars here in this area, there has been no panic. People still have their sense of humor. Already they're starting to re-roof their houses, starting to shovel mud from their homes, and they're going about their business as usual. There's one restaurant in town open, They're cooking their food with gas. They have no electricity, no air conditioning. You can get just 2 dishes there, steak or spaghetti. Both cost $1.50.
Moving north from Naples, Hurricane Donna apparently was undecided about which highway to take while traveling north through Florida. And so it touched most of them as it cut a path for Jacksonville and the open seas. Along the way, Donna left a trail of destruction in Florida's northeast coastal section. Damage has been estimated at more than $1 million. The storm center passed near Flagler Beach, took in the cities of Ormond Beach, Holly Hill, and Daytona Beach. At New Smyrna, only the title of a movie, Winds Over the Everglades, remains where once there was a drive-in theater. This film report by John Buckley. U.S. Highway 1 resembled a lake in many places. Driving was extremely hazardous. A deputy sheriff at Flagler Beach said the wind blew all night. He said it must have gone higher than 120 miles an hour. Damage took many forms. Sturdy trees yielded to the blasts of the hurricane. Roofs were lifted from the structures they were built to protect. In Titusville, the senior and junior high schools were shambles, and yet through the walls, books remained on the desks, still neatly stacked. This was the geography and the mathematics class of Titusville Senior High School. Near the remnants of that schoolhouse, portions of the building came to rest in a tree. There's that classroom. At the United States Weather Bureau in Miami, the man who has been heading up the team reporting so adequately and accurately on the progress of the storm is Chief Forecaster Gordon Dunn. Mr. Dunn is on the line now from the Weather Bureau. Can you tell us briefly, first of all, what direction the storm is taking at the moment?
At the present time, Hurricane Donna is very close to Wilmington, North Carolina. It has accelerated considerably in the past few hours, moving north-northeastward, and is now a distinct threat to the North and Middle Atlantic coast. In fact, hurricane warnings are now flying as far north as Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Mr. Dunn, we just received from the Keys another report from our men there, Al Dempsey and Dick Dale. And while we chat for a moment about this storm and what she did to Florida, we'll be looking at the films on the air. Mr. Dunn, let's get your evaluation of just how severe the storm was in a destructive fashion in Florida's history.
It was not the most intense hurricane of record. The 1935 hurricane on the Florida Keys on Labor Day was the most intense hurricane. However, very definitely, this is Florida's greatest hurricane disaster from a standpoint of property loss. Very fortunately, it is not from a standpoint of casualties and deaths.
How do you explain that there were no more casualties or deaths? For example, down in the Keys, where everything seems to be down, and people were there, and yet they came through.
I think there are a number of reasons. Better building codes, better community organization, better cooperation from the public, I think an improved hurricane warning service, and not the least important is the cooperation that we received from all the news media. TV, radio, and newspapers performed an outstanding public service. And I believe that in this hurricane, the Florida public was better informed than it has ever been before.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn, and on behalf of the public, if I may do so, we would like to express our extreme appreciation to the excellent job done by you and your staff in alerting us to the progress of this storm from its inception.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you, and good night, Gordon Dunn.
Good night.
Some late reports on the storm. Governor Collins tonight announced he'll make a personal inspection tomorrow of hurricane damage. Marines are patrolling the Keys tonight with rifles to prevent looters from entering the wreckage there. The Florida citrus crop has been heavily hit. No damage estimate as yet, and at least 10 Floridians have died from the storm. That's the special WTVJ news report on Hurricane Donna.
Due to the special report just presented, Lucy in Connecticut was not seen tonight. Lucy in Connecticut, sponsored by Lieber Brothers.